Hi students, today we will be discussing lipid chemistry. Now this class will help both categories of student. Number one, who have no idea about lipid chemistry, so you will find topics which you can further go through in your textbook. And number two, who have already studied lipid chemistry in good way or bad way, it will help you recollect those topics, and it will also help those students who have forgotten lipid chemistry, did lipid chemistry quite a while back, but they are willing to solve MCQ questions in relation to lipid chemistry, right? So we will be discussing the most important outline areas of lipid chemistry. First, we should know that lipid chemistry is actually a part of competency BI 4.1. Okay, so let's see what the competency tells you. MCI and MC competency. It says describe and discuss main classes of lipids: essential, non-essential fatty acid, cholesterol, hormonal steroids, triglyceride, major phospholipid and sphingolipids relevant to human system and their major function. So there's a lot of things to be discussed, right? However, will not be going into super details, but we will discuss mostly what is relevant for NEET PG preparation and reading smartly to give you the most edge over your competitors. So we will start with the very basics and then we'll move forward to the more complicated areas. So lipid, any compound which is insoluble in water, right, and soluble in non-polar organic solvent, for example benzene. Okay, so fatty acid. Next comes fatty acids. So fatty acids are polar compounds. Their nickname is acyl. So whenever henceforth you hear the name acyl, you should always know it's mentioning or it's referring to a fatty acid, right? And fatty acid plus alcohol generally leads to non-polar fat. Okay, so what do you mean by fatty acid plus alcohol? There may be formation of various type of bonds in fatty acid. Remember, fatty acid always ends in a carboxyl group. It's a carboxylic acid, right? So carboxy group plus alcohol makes an ester bond. Okay, carboxy group plus amino makes an amide bond. So here you can see a carboxylic group plus alcohol. Okay, this COOR2 is actually an ester bond and it's a non-polar fat. That is what we were referring over here. Fatty acid plus alcohol via an ester bond makes it a non-polar fat. Okay, so these are the basic conceptual areas. Next, we classify lipids. Simple lipid means a combination of fatty acid and alcohol, non-polar, we already discussed. Complex lipid means those two basic components plus something else. Now this something else, other component, can be phosphate group that will make phospholipid, and it can be carbohydrate that will make glycolipid. Remember, both of them have got polar as well as non-polar areas in their structure. So they are referred to as amphipathic lipids. Means some of the areas in the structure are hydrophilic in nature and some are hydrophobic in nature. Hydrophilic means water loving and hydrophobic means water hating. Now you can see here is a structure of simple lipid. It's glycerol. Okay, we can also represent glycerol like this, 3 OH groups. So this is a tricarboxylic acid. Now this OH groups can be replaced by fatty acid. Remember, this OH group is an alcohol. So whenever a fatty acid is combining with an alcohol, it will form an ester bond. So first, when one fatty acid replaces an OH group, it becomes monoacyl glycerol. So it means one fatty acid plus glycerol, monoacyl glycerol, it is an amphipathic. Okay. Now when two fatty acids are forming ester bonds with both the hydroxyl group, it is diacyl glycerol. So 2 fatty acid and glycerol, it is also amphipathic in nature. However, you see, when 3 fatty acids are coming and binding with OH groups via ester bond, it is 3 fatty acid plus glycerol, it is triacyl glycerol. It is also known as triglyceride or TG. Okay, and they are neutral, that is non-polar. Very important. So binding of one fatty acid makes it amphipathic, 2 fatty acid amphipathic, but 3 fatty acid again makes it non-polar. Next, we look into phospholipids. You may comment that we are going very fast. Okay, yes, we are going very fast because these are the bare minimum that you need to know, and these are the most important areas for MCQ. We will not be focusing on redundant areas that you don't need simply. Okay, so phospholipids means alcohol, fatty acid and phosphate group, right? So fatty acid 1 and fatty acid 2 have formed ester group with 2 OH group of glycerol, and in the third OH group this phosphate group is linked. This is known as phosphatidic acid, 2 acyl group and 1 phosphate group. Okay, this is known as phosphatidic acid or phosphatidic acid, and to the phosphate group a base may be attached. Now depending on the nature of base, the name will change. If this is choline, it is known as lecithin. If it is choline, we also name it phosphatidyl choline, PHOSPHATIDYL, phosphatidyl choline, because it is phosphatidic acid and choline. Similarly, phosphatidyl ethanolamine is cephalin or kephalin. Okay, now lecithin plays a role as lung surfactant and cephalin plays a role in CNS. Okay, these are additional questions that may be asked, but we will deal with them later. Next, we need to know what happens when these type of compounds are hydrolyzed, when they are broken down. So if we break down lecithin, we get 1 choline, 1 phosphate, 2 fatty acid and 1 glycerol. Alright, because these are the ones that are attached. The one is glycerol, there are fatty acids and there is a phosphate group. Okay, and there is a base. In case of lecithin, the base is choline. So basically we will get all of them when they are broken down. Now what will break them? These phospholipids are broken down by the enzyme known as phospholipase. Okay, now we deal with phospholipase in much more detail in digestion and absorption of lipid, that it may be a part of lipid metabolism, but when you are studying lipid chemistry, we should always know about how a molecule is broken down, right? So phospholipases can be of 4 types. A very gross summary: phospholipase A1, phospholipase A2, phospholipase C and phospholipase D, and these are the areas where those phospholipase actually breaks the molecule. So you see what happens when we use phospholipase A1. So what will phospholipase A1 do? Phospholipase A1 will simply break down the fatty acid. It will break the first ester bond. Similarly, phospholipase A2, what it will do? It will attack this bond. Okay, so we will get fatty acid 2. Okay, next phospholipase C. What will phospholipase C do? It will attack over here the bond between hydroxyl group and the phosphate group. So phospholipase C action will lead to diacyl glycerol plus the base with phosphate. So this is the base with phosphate. Okay, very important MCQ question. And if phospholipase D acts, we get the base and phosphatidic acid. Okay, very important. This slide is one of the most important slides for MCQ purpose, for NEET PG preparation as well as for undergraduate student, but especially for MCQ. So please keep in mind and please make your own note about the action of various phospholipase grade of enzymes. Remember, since these are breaking down, the enzymes that break down can be categorized into 2 variety. If they break down with the help of water, we call it hydrolase, and if they break down just like that, they are known as lyase. So it is your homework to find out what category of enzyme are phospholipases, and then you can write that in the comment section. Next, a very important phospholipid, that is cardiolipin. You need to know the structure of cardiolipin separately. That is why we are mentioning cardiolipin. Okay. Now cardiolipin is a complex phospholipid. It is present in the inner mitochondrial membrane and has got many role in immunity. So it can be antigenic, right? So it has got a huge structure. So basically what is cardiolipin? It is a molecule of glycerol connected with 2-phosphatidic acid or 2-phosphatidic acid that is connecting a molecule of glycerol. You can find the structure of cardiolipin in your book. It is very huge, but the basic linkage is this. There will be phosphatidic acid on either side and they will be connected via glycerol. Next, again there are types of phospholipids. Now phospholipids can be classified based on the parent alcohol. Okay, if the parent alcohol is glycerol, they are known as glycerophospholipid, and if the parent alcohol is sphingosine, they are known as sphingophospholipid. Okay. Now, what is sphingosine? Sphingosine is an unsaturated 20 carbon amino alcohol. Okay, there is an amino group in the alcohol, and hence sphingophospholipid are actually alcohol plus fatty acid plus phosphate group, the alcohol being sphingosine. Okay, so I hope these basic concepts are clear. You can take your own time, you can analyze each of these slide and you can corroborate with your textbook, but make sure these fundamental concepts are very, very, very clear, right? So you see, this is sphingosine, a 20 carbon amino alcohol. Okay, there's an amino group and there are 20 carbons, right? So when this sphingosine combines with a fatty acid, this is known as ceramide. Okay, there's a spelling mistake. It will be ceramide, C-R-A-M-I-D, right? So sphingosine plus fatty acid makes ceramide. Now, if this is connected with a phosphate and a base, for example, if this base is choline, it will be sphingomyelin. So based on this base, the references on this base, this basic structure of ceramide can lead to many such compounds. One of them is sphingomyelin. So let us know one or two things about sphingomyelin. Sphingomyelin, number one, it is present in myelin sheath of the brain. Very important. So what will be the product of hydrolysis of sphingomyelin? So if sphingomyelin is broken down, we get choline, we get one phosphate, we get one fatty acid, and we get one alcohol, this alcohol being sphingosine. Now I hope you are getting a clue. We have told hydrolysis, so it means breaking down with the help of water, right? Anyway, now we move to glycolipid. Okay, we need to know a brief about glycolipid. Glycolipid consists of alcohol, fatty acid and carbohydrate. Okay, remember, this alcohol is not glycerol. It is never present in glycolipid. So students often confuse a glycerophospholipid with glycolipid. In case of glycerophospholipid, the parent alcohol is glycerol, but we are discussing glycolipid. Over there, glycerol is never present. Similarly, phosphate and base is also never present in glycolipid. So these are actually part of MCQ questions that are given in all except form. So they will give you name of 4 or 5 alcohols and you need to select which one of them is not present. Then of course you need to mark glycerol, and all of them are present in glycolipid except, so if phosphate and bases are option, they are also not present in glycolipid. So what's the alcohol that is present in glycolipid? The alcohol is actually sphingosine. Okay, and based on this difference in carbohydrate, this glycolipid can be classified into two different types. Basically they are ceramides. So if the glycolipid has got sphingosine and fatty acid and glucose, it is known as glucosylceramide or glucocerebroside. What is the function? They are found in extraneural tissues and never found in central nervous system. Very important. Okay. And the next type, that is galactosylceramide, it is sphingosine plus fatty acid plus galactose. The carbohydrate is not glucose, it is galactose. It is known as galactocerebroside or galactosylceramide. They are always found in the central nervous system. So these are two varieties of glycolipids. Next, we go on to sphingolipidosis, means sphingolipids and the diseases. Okay, this chart is basically very exhaustive, and as a first year student, I agree it's very difficult to remember all of these. But if you are going for NEET PG, trust me, these are hot areas and questions will be set from these areas mainly. So you need to remember what is the name of the disease and what is the enzyme that is deficient. Okay, so let's look at the whole flow chart and analyze them. So sphingosine plus fatty acid forms ceramide. Here, if this enzyme is deficient, that is known as ceraminidase, it leads to Farber's disease. From this ceramide, it can have two fates. If a phosphocholine is attached, that is a base and a phosphate group, we get sphingomyelin. In that context, you need to remember name of this disease known as Niemann-Pick disease. It's due to deficiency of an enzyme known as sphingomyelinase. Okay. And another fate is either carbohydrates will be attached, right? So the carbohydrates can be either glucose or galactose. From this area, there may be three different diseases. Number one, Gaucher's disease, very important. This is due to deficiency of beta glucocerebrosidase. Okay. Next, Krabs disease due to deficiency in beta galactosyl ceramidase. And again, Fabry's disease it is due to deficiency of alpha galactosyl ceramidase. Okay, so all three are important: Gaucher's, Krabs, Fabry's, right? Next, from cerebroside, when an oligosaccharide molecule is added to the residue, we get globoside, right? And in this context, important disease is Shandorf's disease. It is due to deficiency of hexosaminidase A and hexosaminidase B. Okay, and lastly, if we add a residue of N-acetyl neuraminic acid, that is NANA, if we add one NANA to globoside, we get ganglioside, right? And this has got also another disease in relation to this, that is hexosaminidase A deficiency, that is Tay-Sachs disease. Remember, hexosaminidase A enzyme can catalyze formation of both globoside and ganglioside. So in case of Tay-Sachs disease, this enzyme is deficient, but there is deficiency in gangliosides. There is problem, there is accumulation of ganglioside. But this disease, one thing you need to know for MCQ purpose, this gangliosidosis never happens in liver. This is a disease of central nervous system. Okay, others are affect liver. Very, very, very important. So all of them have got hepatomegaly, that is liver enlargement, except gangliosidosis, that is Tay-Sachs disease. Okay, we will be discussing the salient features and all except what specifically you need to remember in upcoming slides. Other diseases that you need to know is GM1 gangliosidosis and metachromatic leukodystrophy. It is due to deficiency in aryl sulfatase A. Okay, aryl sulfatase A. Believe me, there is an exhaustive chart in your textbook. As a first year student or even as a postgraduate student, you only need to know the name of the diseases and the enzymes that are deficient. Only if you are appearing for highly competitive exam, then you may get image based questions. In that type of question, the areas in these steps will be grayed out, and then you need to identify which enzyme are playing a role. So that is an extremely difficult question. I am not betting on that, but as a beginner or as a regular reader, you should at least know name of the diseases and their deficiency disorders. So here is a comprehensive chart. So all of these, so all sphingolipidosis, I mean sphingolipids and their diseases are LSD, that is lysosomal storage disorder. Okay, except Wolman's disease is a lysosomal storage disorder, but not a sphingolipidosis. It is not a sphingolipidosis. We'll be discussing Wolman's disease separately. Okay. Next, all gangliosidosis are sphingolipidosis. Okay, it means sphingolipids get accumulated. Okay. Next, all sphingolipidosis are autosomal recessive in nature except Fabry's disease, which is X-linked recessive. Very, very, very important MCQ. Fabry's is X-linked recessives. All of them are AR, that is autosomal recessive. Next, all sphingolipidosis have got mental retardation except Gaucher's and Fabry's disease. Okay, these are type of all except questions that have appeared in previous years competitive NEET PG exams. That is why we have accumulated them. Okay. Next, all sphingolipidosis have cherry red spot. Okay, this will be either have or give cherry red spot in eye except Fabry's and Gaucher's. So this will be more relevant when you complete eye lessons in ophthalmology, okay? So when you are preparing for NEET PG, but as a first year student, you should know that cherry red spot is absent in Fabry's and Gaucher's, okay? Next, all sphingolipidosis have hepatosplenomegaly. It means enlargement of liver and spleen except Tay-Sachs and Krabs. Okay. Next, sphingolipidosis with angiokeratoma means there are lesions in the skin. Okay, blood vessels on the skin get enlarged. So these are GM1 gangliosidosis and Fabry's disease. Okay, I agree the list is exhaustive. If you can remember, fine. If you cannot remember, you should at least revise them the day before exam. Next, Krabs disease is also known as globoid cell leukodystrophy. Okay, a sphingolipidosis that is resembling rheumatoid arthritis is Farber's disease, and a sphingolipidosis resembling sickle cell crisis, sickle cell anemia you will be reading later, is Fabry's disease. Yes, this is an exhaustive list. There is no other way to remember. Only way to remember is reading it over and over again, discussing with your friends, writing it down. Anyhow, you need to remember, but you need to remember. Okay. A note: a patient of organomegaly. Okay, this will come as a long case as a part of your early clinical exposure, or it may be a short case in your viva, especially in medicine exam. Also, having organomegaly who bruise easily and have bone pain, the diagnosis is Gaucher's disease. We'll be discussing Gaucher's disease. We'll be making a separate video on Gaucher's disease in upcoming lessons. Next, so the one we discussed that is an exception of sphingolipidosis is Wolman's disease. So let us discuss a few words about Wolman's disease. It is not a sphingolipidosis, but it is a LSD, that is lysosomal storage disorder. So what is deficient? The enzyme that is deficient is acid lipase. What happens? Increased concentration of cholesterol, ester and triglycerides in the serum. So it is a disorder of lipid metabolism. Okay. What is the symptom? Watery green diarrhea. Very important. Okay. This is a disorder of childhood actually. So what happens? Relentless vomiting and failure to thrive. Okay. These are the two features. Hepatosplenomegaly, that is enlargement of liver and spleen. And the pathognomonic feature means the one which helps in diagnosis is actually calcification of adrenal gland. Very important. So you see kidney on the renal, there is suprarenal. Suprarenal also means adrenal, that is above kidney. So suprarenal glands get calcified. This is the diagnostic feature of Wolman's disease. So you see, in addition, since you saw cholesterol is also mentioned in your competency, number one, you need to know the structure of cholesterol, the cyclopentanoparhydrophenanthrene, that is CPP ring. Also, you need to know cholesterol is itself an amphipathic molecule, okay? But when it combines with fatty acid, it becomes non-polar. Combining with fatty acid, cholesterol becomes cholesterol ester. Being a first year student, it may be difficult to come across all these terminologies, right? But just know this: failure to thrive means inability to maintain growth or poor growth. Okay, inability to sustain or catch up with growth of other peers. Okay, so a child with failure to thrive means he will have stunted growth compared to other child of same age group, age and sex. So next, move to our last section of discussion, that is polyunsaturated fatty acids and essential fatty acid. The most common characteristic is they have to have more than 2 double bonds. Okay, so they are of 2 categories. Number 1 is omega-3 and number 2 is omega-6. There can be many, much more, but those are very important from exam point of view. So let's first discuss omega-3. So cervonic acid or docosahexaenoic acid, it is one of the most important omega-3 fatty acid. So docosahexaenoic acid, it is 22 carbons and 6 double bonds. It is actually present in many health drinks. Okay, so health drinks are fortified with DHA. And it is also required for brain development in first 2 to 3 years of life. And remember, breast milk contains docosahexaenoic acid or DHA. Okay. Next, most important omega-3 category of fatty acid is linolenic acid. Okay, it contains 18 carbons and 3 double bonds. It is an essential fatty acid and it is a precursor of omega-3 category. So linolenic, from linolenic acid, other omega-3 fatty acid can be synthesized. Next, but most important, not most important actually, nice to know is timodonic acid. It contains 20 carbons and 5 double bonds. Not very essential, but if you are appearing for gold medal or class assistant exam, it may be asked. Okay. So lastly, this is omega-6 category. So omega-6, number one is gamma linolenic acid, very important. Okay, the how omega nomenclature happens, you can go through your textbook. Okay, it is the number of the position of double bond from the last, not from the carboxyl end, from the other end. Okay, so gamma linolenic acid consists of 18 carbons and 3 double bonds. Next is linoleic acid. Linoleic acid is an omega-6 category. It has got 18 carbons and 2 double bond. It is the most essential fatty acid. Okay, and it is the precursor of all omega-6 category. Okay, remember, lenic is omega-3 except gamma linolenic, that is again omega-6, and linoleic is omega-6. And lastly, arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid, it has got 20 carbon atoms and 4 double bonds. It is the precursor of synthesis of prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Prostaglandins and leukotrienes will be taught in detail in physiology, and it is also part of lipid chemistry. The enzymes cyclooxygenase, lipoxygenase, all those have got medical importance. But as a part of lipid chemistry, you should know at least arachidonic acid is the precursor of prostaglandins and leukotrienes. So how can we classify amino acid based on their chain length? Very important. Short chain, did I say amino acid? I was wrong. I mean fatty acid. So short chain fatty acid are actually 2 to 4 carbon. Medium chain 6 to 12. Long chain fatty acid 14 to 20. And very long chain fatty acid are also known as VLCFA. Very long chain fatty acid means more than 20 carbon atoms, and these VLCFAs are most important for brain development. So this brings the end of our very exhaustive but very factual lipid chemistry class. Okay, there's a lot of facts in here which you need to read over and over again in order to remember. If you are having difficulty in understanding any part of the discussion, you can type in the comment section. And if you have watched this video till now, please type complex in the comment section. If you write complex, I will know that you have watched this video, and I expect you to score all MCQ questions related to lipid chemistry henceforth in any competitive exam. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you soon with another video. Till then, bye and take care.